How would Nikita fare in today's business?
I think he'd do quite well. I think it would bring a new style to the wrestling business, a new style that the fans have been longing for. Um, some of the fans wouldn't be used to it, but I think there would be an adjustment period there. But I think I could do real well. I have kept myself in shape.
Do you still watch it?
Very little. Simply because I'm doing so many, wearing so many different hats, doing other things. I just catch a glimpse of it here and there and pick up on things. And although doors have been opening, like with a lot of, like I say, a lot of radio interview shows and different types of interviews and the webpage and internet, and so a lot of things are opening up. That there's possibilities there.
Right. How do you compare wrestling today compared to wrestling back in the 80s?
Apples and oranges. I summarized that by saying in those days it was wrestling with a flavor of entertainment, and now it's entertainment, and you may see some wrestling if you're really fortunate. Someone recently said, they said, you could watch from week to week, and you were inspired to watch from week to week because the storylines were built into the matches, where now the storylines aren't really aren't built into the matches. From what I understand, and you have to understand, I don't watch a whole lot of it, but they're built more around outside of the wrestling arena than they really are inside the wrestling ring. And so to really draw the people into, we used to work months in a program. I worked with Rick for 7-8 months. We come to Greensboro, North Carolina, and have a world heavyweight title match. Then we come to Greensboro and have a world heavyweight title match with no disqualification. Then we come to Greensboro and have a world title match with no disqualification, no time limit. It was so the story was built and built and built. Just like the very first time when we did the dungeon scenes. I'd never even touched Ric Flair, but we did about 6 or 8 week series of dungeon scenes, and that built such a level of interest from the people that even though I had never even stepped in the ring with Flair, and even hitting David Crockett, I'd still really never even stepped in the ring with Flair. Prior to one little skirmish when I nailed Crockett, one little skirmish with Flair, but yet we did 30-something thousand people in the Coliseum that night, and could they get that style back?
Vince Russo recently said that he doesn't see titles meaning anything anymore because he thinks it's he thinks it's a stupid idea to have a guy to hold the belt for a long period of time because he says it's not it's not real.
Well, and you know what? That just fits in with where they're at in today's day and time. And in fact, he's right. The titles do mean nothing anymore. Absolutely nothing. There was a day and time when those titles meant everything. And the wrestling fan will tell you, especially the old school wrestler, the diehard. When I travel to places and speak, and I get the 30, 40, 50, 60-year-olds who share with me. And some of them, it's funny, they'll say, my mom and dad, or my grandpa, my grandma. Oh, man, they this, they that. The fact that, he lost the title. And it just, he's right. They mean nothing anymore. And it's, to me, it's sad in a sense, even though I wasn't in there for a long time, but having been raised up by old timers, old school wrestlers, it's a tragedy that they have diminished the belts to mean nothing.
Right. In the 80s, it was pretty much a big man sport. What are your views on steroids?
Well, I'm not an advocate of steroid use. I will say that they work.
Have you ever experienced them, experimented with them, or?
Back years ago in my college days when I was playing football, aspiring to play in the National Football League, I will publicly say that although I feel fortunate that I never got sucked into the psychological aspect of it, to the old adage is more is better. If I take 2, 4 will produce twice the results of the 2, and I never got sucked into that psychology of it, and I was very moderate in the use of it, and recognized that the effects of it long term could be detrimental to my life and my health, and so I put an end to it. Those who say they don't work, really, I'd have to say don't know what they're talking about, because they really do. They are enhancement drugs without question. The problem is, like everything, it goes from use to abuse. And a good friend of mine, superstar Billy Graham, shows the effects of abuse. There are guys today that I know years from now are going to regret. I mean, Billy will tell you he regrets ever using steroids. He's had four hip replacements now. His bones are deteriorating to the point that he can barely physically get around. Was it all worth it? No, Billy tell you no. No, it wasn't. The money wasn't, the fame wasn't, the fortune wasn't worth it. And there will be guys in today's era that one day will regrettably look back and think, what could I have been thinking? What was I doing?
Right. If you could have one last run or one last match, who would it be with?
Interesting question. I've never really gave that a tremendous amount of thought and being essentially put on the spot and thinking about that. The first name that came to mind was Bret Hart, simply because he's a great worker, a great ring tactician. I've never been in the ring with him. I've always marveled at his work, been impressed with his work. And so I guess Bret Hart would be the answer at this point.
Right. Are you surprised about how open the business is now compared to back in the 80s when it was, pretty much closed door?
Not surprised by it. Disappointed by it, yes, without question. And even the fans, it's funny that, the different feedback I get from fans, say, boy, we really liked it better back then. We liked it when it was like that, but when we really didn't know, or when we kind of thought we knew, but we really didn't know, and just the whole aspect of it. It's kind of like somebody told me one time there was remember the old one of the original sitcoms, All in the Family,
right?
Archie Bunker, right? They were sharing with me that they did a spiff on there one time, and Archie was watching wrestling, and his son-in-law, Meathead, right, walked in and said, Archie, what are you watching that stuff for? It's all fake, and Archie turned around and looked at him and he said, hey, Meathead. He said, shut up. He said, maybe they know what's going to happen, but I don't. So let me watch it, And it kind of summarizes a lot of the fans and how they felt, like there was a mystique to it. And I think they appreciated that. I believe anyway, from the feedback I get, that they appreciated that a lot more than what the expose that it has become.
Right.
Watch thousands of exclusive shoot interviews right now on TitleMatchNetwork.com.